Hey, good morning, Shriram. How are
Yeah,
you doing
hi.
today?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Sunam. How about you?
Yeah, I'm also great. Okay, Shriram. So I have your resume in front of me. Okay, I can see you have now close to 9+ years of experience, right?
Yes. Yeah, close to
Okay.
10.
So why don't you tell us about yourself, your current role and responsibility as a Scrum Master in a brief?
Okay. Yeah, myself, Sriram, and I'm working for Tata Consultancy Services for more than 10 years. From the beginning, I started with TCS as a trainee, and now I'm working as a software Scrum Master from last 3+ years for for the project United Services Automobile Association. It's basically an insurance project located in US. We serve for US military
If you
people.
don't mind, can you be a little slow? You're too fast for me. Can you be a
Okay.
little slow? Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, from last 3+ years, I'm working as a Scrum Master for an insurance project. It's a project name is United Services Automobile Association. Yeah, my my roles and responsibilities in the sense like of taking care of all the agile ceremonies and participating in coordinating with our senior scrum masters and sharing all the metrics with them and maintaining our team in line with the business priorities and um, all the things we are taking care.
Okay, so what's your current team size and how many teams you are working currently?
Yeah, actually, we are working in scaled agile framework. So we are in a scaled agile framework. We used to call as release trains. In my release train, around 10 Scrum teams are operating under the release train. For every release train is having one purpose like how we call scope or main work they are focusing on. For every under my release train, 10 Scrum teams are there. I am handling 3 Scrum teams under that release time.
So it might be very difficult to work with three team continuously, don't you think?
Yeah, three Scrum teams. It's like 3 Scrum teams are working on the same backlog only. We'll have all the, as I said, right, in my release line, 10 Scrum teams are there, right? It's if we distribute that into or they mostly will be like in scaled agile framework. One team will be like in every release line, one system team will be there as maybe the system team is mainly focusing on their environmental issues and the remaining teams will be like working on the business perspective in my release train only 3 streams are there. Like for example, in mine is one stream. Under that, three scrum teams are there. I'm taking care of the three scrum teams, and the remaining 2 scrum teams will be there. Sorry, remaining 2 streams will be there. That will be like the remaining 3 plus 1 4. Remaining 6 teams are under that particular 2 streams. They are mainly focusing on the single backlog only.
Okay,
It's a common
understood.
backlog, so is yeah.
Okay, so okay, I'll just give you one scenario. Okay, Shriram. So let's say you have to form a Scrum team from scratch. So what
Yes.
will be the steps? So let's say now
Yeah, it's
you
like
will be taken as a Scrum Master for a new team. So what
okay.
will be your next step to create your form your new Scrum team?
Yeah, first, if it is a brand new Scrum team and it is very new to the organization, we need to do few checks like forming into the agile Scrum teams. In the We need to what I can say is like yeah, we need to form not only the development teams. We need to do the reorganization complete reorg we need to do. It's not in perspective of the development teams are like we need to change the upper management also. Further, first we need to do is like we need to identify the roles and roles. For example, who is going to in waterfall models. In for example, if it's changing from waterfall to agile model, we need to identify what are all the roles and who are all going to be who are all going to act as which role. For example, in waterfall model we have project manager, like QA people will be there, QA, different roles will be there. Similarly, we have agile also in agile model also we'll have different roles. We need to identify who is going to play in that role, and we need to we need to create the artifacts necessary. We need to identify all the artifacts which are required for the Scrum. For example, we need to identify the product backlog. We need to create the product backlog. All these things, different metrics will be there to in order to kickstart our agile things, agile model. First, I can say like we need to create a team, and then we need to identify the roles, who is going to play which role, who is going to play product owner, who is going to play team member, who is going to play Scrum Master, who is going to play like that. Different roles will be there, right? We have in Agile, we have three roles only. All these three roles, who is going to work under that role, and then we'll give training for them, how we are going to work in this model, what is Agile, what are the things we'll do, what are different ceremonies we do, what are different metrics we are following, and what are all the different we'll give a proper explanation to them, and like we'll give good idea about about all the things with them, and then we'll get the feedback from them, and we'll in initial days we'll have a lot of hiccups while transforming from waterfall to Agile, as many people won't accept that. Why? Because they already adjusted to that particular way of working. If we ask them to change from that particular way of working, they are in a very comfortable way of doing the work. They can first question, they'll question like, now we are going currently smooth way, right? Why we need to go with this? We are giving what are all the outputs you are expecting, and what are all the things you are asking, we are doing it right. Why we need to transform this? Yeah, we need to give all the things. Like for example, I personally feel when I am working in waterfall model, we'll never get a chance to talk with our customers or stakeholders and what are their requirements. We'll never get a chance. But if you consider the Agile, and we will have different ceremonies for that. We'll have a ceremony called sprint review, where we used to showcase our work done for that particular iteration with all the stakeholders or all the development product owners. All these things we'll showcase to them, and we'll get the inputs for them. And the way how we are getting the feedback, right, based on the feedback and based on the things we are getting from them, right, there will be a chance to check our things, and we'll be in line with their business requirements and the priorities. We'll explain all these things to them, and what are all the benefits we'll get. All these things we'll showcase them, and initial days we'll get some difficulties, some challenges will be there. Especially if any senior persons are there, we'll get some challenges from them. We need to face all those things. As my suggestion is like, we need to take 1 or 2 Scrum teams as a pilot phase, and then we implement this, and we'll showcase the results for these 2 Scrum teams to other teams, and then we'll slowly migrate them to Agile also. This is my way of approach of doing this.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. So Shriram, as a Scrum Master, okay, how do you measure your success? How do you know that your work is effective and efficient as a Scrum Master?
Effective, yeah, it's a nice question actually. Yeah, what we can say, like how measure of success in the sense, like what I can feel is based on my experience, I can say when we are pushing any when we are deploying any things to our for example, when every time we won't work and deliver directly to the production. Sometimes we are deploying our code into the test regions. From test regions we'll move. Since for example, every iteration is going to be like 2 weeks of iteration we are working currently. In this particular 2 weeks, we are our iteration goal will be like, from this development code, from this development phase, so we need to go to the testing phase. If the particular if we consider the particular iteration, we need to, our main focus is like, we need to push our code as much as possible without any defects in the test phase. Okay, and then are we going with are we giving the quality of code or not? What are all the necessary things we are giving for them while moving from a development region to testing region? Like that we used to take this is the things we will consider, and we are trying to give the quality of the product to them, and then we'll check whether we are going with a line of whether we are going with and one more thing we can check is like when if we are doing what we can say, when rework, if you try to avoid rework, and if you try to avoid the rework, then that will be a good sign of progress, I can feel. And and I can say like if we are properly estimated that, and we are identified if all the stories and everything are correctly planned, and if we plan properly, we won't get any problem. If we get any problems, we'll try to avoid, we'll try to fix those.
Okay. 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 So, Shyam, do you know like what is story points and why user story is not estimated in man hours but in story points? It's a very
Yeah.
important and a very common question, but yeah, I have to ask you.
Yeah, it's basically that we are calculating the story points in the relative size, not absolute size. What we can say, like why we are not doing is like, when we are giving when we are estimating a story based on the uh, what I can say, like when we take any, first we need to do story estimation. In the story estimation, we'll identify what are all the things we need to do for the story, what are all the acceptance criteria given by the, what is the acceptance criteria, what is the acceptance criteria for this, and what are all the things we need to do, how much difficulty is there, how many, for example, if we consider any if the particular story is related to a testing type, we need to, like, whether the test plan is already created or not. If it is not created, how much effort we need to put, and we'll give in a high level. For example, this story estimation is based on the if the story, for example, if an experience the story estimation is changes from person to person. If we consider one person, if we give for example, if a story given to the one person, he'll give an estimate like, I can complete this in 2 hours. But the same story given to a different person, he'll say like, it is a difficult, it is a different task for me, it is not the work I'm not doing daily basis. I need 2 more hours to complete this. That is why we'll give in the relative size, not in the absolute size. That is the one major reason why we are not giving in the particular 2 hours or 3 hours. Instead of them, we'll give like story points.
Yeah, you told me like why we are not using, but you're still, I'm waiting for the answer. Like, what exactly is the story point?
Story points is like no, I'm getting not getting. Yeah.
Is it a unit of measurement, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, it's a unit of measurement of the particular story to be done.
Okay. And when you say story points is not equal to efforts, right?
Yeah.
So what else is story point then? If not equal to efforts, but I'm assuming whenever you are using some tool, let's say Jira or something, right? You are
Yes.
putting
Yeah.
your efforts over there, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
So somewhere down the line, story points and your efforts are correlated.
Yeah. Yes, we are correlating it. Yeah.
Correlated, then what's the use of all this relative estimation, right? We can just go with the efforts. I'm just making you a little confused, but yeah.
No. It's not like that actually. For example, if you consider a story point, it's changes from organization to organization. In some organizations,
No, that I understood. So story point, okay, let me try to rephrase. So I want to hear from you that apart from effort, what else is story point is about? So because if story point equal to just effort, we could have used efforts only, right? That okay, 10
yeah,
hours or minutes, right? But you are telling that those is in a way is related, but then unrelated. So is mean there is something else apart from efforts, right? Which consists of story points. What is that extra
okay,
things? That's okay if you for a time in, if it's not coming to your mind, that's okay, no problem.
yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay, no problem. Okay. So you might have seen those kind of scenarios, when the requirement change frequently. So how you deal with this kind of scenarios, let's say your PO will come in the middle of the sprint and he just want to introduce one or more two user stories. So how you work in those kind of situations?
Yeah, first of all, we'll identify when we got any requirement change in the middle of the iteration. We'll check with our DPO whether we'll check with our Scrum team first. Yeah, we got a new requirement. What are we? If we want to start with that requirement, are we aligned with the iteration goal or not? If the iteration goal is the thing, like when we are when we going to start the iteration, we'll fix one goal for that particular iteration. This is what we are going to achieve in this iteration. This will be done in the iteration planning, during the iteration planning. When we
What
got
is your
any
current
requirement,
iteration goal? Sorry to interrupt you. What is your current iteration goal?
in
So we
my
can share.
in my sure, yeah, in my current organization, our interaction will be like currently we are in integration with a third-party vendor. The for my iteration goal is like we need to do testing for that particular integration is already done in the previous iterations. Our goal is to like we need to successfully hit that particular third party, and we need to get the response, and we need to validate all the happy path scenarios for the particular vendor. That is our iteration goal currently we are working.
Okay, good. Please continue. Sorry.
Yeah. We need to if we take the particular requirement change we got newly, are we aligned with the iteration goal or not? If the iteration goal is there, if there is something is if we are, for example, if we are not the new requirement which we got is not in line with the iteration goal, we need to talk with our DPO. What is the priority, and is it okay to prioritize in the coming iterations? All these things, all the possibilities and all the scenarios we'll discuss with them, and we'll schedule those in the next iterations. And if for example in the particular scenario we got a urgent requirement, we need to work at most how much we can do FIVO and what is the priority if it is necessary and we need to do it. Asuna, are you able to hear me? I got some notification.
I can hear you, but in between I lost you for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, okay.
Now
yeah.
I can hear
got some. Yeah. We'll see the feasibility whether we can put that particular requirement in current iteration by talking with our DPOs and we'll ask Scrum teams. If it is in line with our in line with our iteration goal, we'll take up. If it is a small effort, if it is not, if the iteration goal accept that, and but if we need to put a lot of effort which we are not able to handle in this iteration, we'll talk with our DPO and we'll prioritize the requirement we got, and we'll schedule in the next iteration by refining the next iteration stories again, and then we'll schedule it. This is my way of going to handle that particular requirement change in the middle of the iteration.
Okay, great. Okay. And how you influence or you can motivate your team? Can you just give me some example, especially nowadays when Corona and team is distributed? So how you motivate your team?
Yeah, this is one bit tough question you can ask. This I can say like we need to how we can motivate. I tell my experience in my current project, like where we got this situation. We are distributed to different locations, and everyone is working from work from home options. Earlier we used to work from office, where we used to get a lot of collaboration and interaction with them face to face, and we are we used to have for small things, right? Directly we used to interact with them and directly we used to get, but that type of interaction we lost now, and we are like working in remotely, and we need to talk with them by phone or by chat or something. We need to talk where we used to get a lot of time delays and all. How we motivated the team, and initially first few days, first few months we faced difficulty, and we motivated the team by talking with them interactively daily basis with them, and we'll motivate them, and one-to-one interaction is the one most important thing I can see, and we'll give all the feedbacks for them when we are working with a team, right? We'll come to know what are all the things where they are lagging, and we'll identify the points, and we'll talk with them personally, and we'll give the suggestions to them in order to rectify this. As why? Because we are not adjusted to this work environment, right? We'll motivate this, and the another point is like when we have any things to motivate the team, right? In during the retrospective meetings and wherever we got ceremonies thing, right? We'll talk with them and we'll showcase all the things to there, and we'll try to motivate them during these times. Like this, I feel one-to-one interaction will give and one-to-one, and if we give, yeah.
Okay. You heard about this CI/CD? According to you, is this continuation integration is important for Scrum teams?
Yeah, yes, I feel it's an important thing.
And why?
Yeah, whenever we'll try to give MVPs as soon as possible. When what my personal feedback is like, instead of waiting for completing the project entire thing, we can what I can say, yeah, MVP is like minimal viable product we can give. For example, if you see right nowadays, all the if you see outside the market, they'll try to they'll first of all how much ever faster they want to reach the public, right? Then only based on the for example, if you take a product, they are trying to give as less as possible of features in the initial stage. They'll have the framework and they'll give some minimal they'll give minimal features and outside, like they'll give to the customers based on the response and based on the feedbacks got by the feedback got from the customers. Then we'll get a chance to what we can, based on their requirements, and along with that we are also having we also have list of requirements to plan, right? We'll adjust the requirements and we'll push accordingly instead of going with our plan. For example, I can say one personal experience is like instead of giving the whole product to them directly, if you give for example, if I want to release the particular whole product, it will take 12 months for me to give the whole product. Instead of that, we'll give what are all the minimum things that they required. For example, if you see, if you consider the State Bank of India, in India we have a State Bank of India where we used to have the app, app is there. Earlier they started only with the inquiries. Now they started with fund transfer. They'll have a lot of options. Now they added a lot of features they added. Now what they slowly push the product to the market, and they took the requirement, they took the feedbacks from the customer and they enhanced the product nicely. And now everyone in the now everyone in the State Bank of India, everyone in the particular bank uses the app, and like that that just I took some small example. If you give continuously continuous integration, if we go with this continuous approach, we'll get good attention to the public from we'll get nice inputs along with our inputs also.
Okay, good. Okay. So, Shivam, tell me, like, what is your biggest challenge which you faced in your Scrum team, and how do you resolve it?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I can say like one big challenge we faced is like as I said, right, we are currently deployed in scaled model, and we are working in agile release time models. Yeah, where every release time will have one purpose to work. For example, in my release time mainly focus on the, as I already said, right, I'm working in insurance product where our project, our team members main goal of work is like to identify the risk related to the particular customer. For example, when you are giving any insurance quotation to the customer, we need to identify the risks. What are all the risks? For example, if you are a risky person, your quotation amount will be more. If it is you are a less risky person, your quotation amount will be less. Like that, we need to identify the risk factors, and we need to give it to the another team where they'll calculate the premium from there. Our main intention is to based on the risk. Where one time we got because of the business requirement, business priorities changes, and business requirement changes, business some other priorities they changed, or we got some other work. We need to help to different release train, and we got their work to in our plate, where we are completely new to their work and completely new to their business, and we struggled a lot in the initial phase. During that time, we identified where we are lagging and what all the things we need to have for that. We have we have different workshops to we conducted in our release time. We soon one couple of iterations. In first two iterations, as I said, right, scaled agile. We are working in a program increment manner, where in program increment one multiple PS will be there. Six iterations will be there. In that particular increment, we first two iterations we faced the challenges. From third on, from later on, we succeeded, and we are giving a good we given a good trust to the customer, and now like that we conducted workshops and we participated in the trainings, and we followed pair programming. We introduced pair programming along with others, and we did all these small things in order to improve, to gain their business knowledge, and we started working. and we got some good results, and we are in line with the business, and from the later on we were in good shape.
Okay,
This is
I
one
was
of the
just
biggest
curious.
challenges.
Yeah, you just mentioned about all this PI planning, safe and all. So you also doing IP sprint?
Pardon?
IP sprint, innovation sprint?
Yes, yeah. Innovation sprint is the last in every program increment. We'll have 6 iterations, where the 6th iteration is mainly focused on the innovation work. Where for example, when we are doing our regular work, we'll feel some kind of work. If we do this particular work, this will reduces our work. Some innovation ideas we used to get, and if we get any idea, any such ideas like process improvements, we are calling process improvements. And if we identify any process improvements, and we'll mainly focus on the last iteration of the particular program increment for this innovative work. In this particular innovative increment, we'll do all this work in the last iteration of the particular program increment. For this, we'll create all the like how we how normally we are doing planning and everything, right? We'll do for this.
Okay, okay. And how you manage conflict with your team? So, for example, there is some issue while during the requirement gathering, in your refinement session. So, how you manage those kind of conflicts within a team? Can you just give me some example?
Yeah, I can say. Yeah, as you mentioned, right, a requirement thing during the requirement refinement things and conflict between team members. We'll fix out. We'll try to identify what is the actual thing, and we'll try to see. First of all, we'll talk to them individually, and then we'll try to fix that. For example, and one more thing I can say, in my team, in initial days when new team members came, they are reluctant to work in this agile model. We'll talk with them, and we'll talk with them. As already said, right? We'll give the we'll showcase all the things, and we'll try to connect with them as soon as possible, and we'll start gaining trust with them. And and the main thing is like if we are started gaining trust with us, we'll get these type of things. We'll
Okay, okay, okay. So, okay, so how you manage risk as a Scrum Master in your project?
Yes, yeah. We'll yeah. For this, right? We have first of all plan all the iterations in the particular program increment, and during the program increment refinement sessions itself, we'll identify the dependencies and risks associated with the particular features and stories we are going to work for the particular program increment. We'll for example, if we consider it a risk, we'll identify the risk, and we'll mitigate the risk, and what is the resolutions for that, and we'll talk with our we'll talk with our release training, like how we have scrum masters, right? In scaled agile framework, we'll have a release train engineer. We'll talk with them, and we'll give we'll sorry, 1 minute. Yeah, we'll talk in the PA planning sessions, and we'll give the we'll give the action plan for that. We'll identify the risk, and we'll maintain one risk register for that. What is the priority, and how much effort we are going to associated with this, and what is the action plan for this. If you want to avoid this risk, what is the plan, and we'll give all the things for them, and we'll get the things done from the higher management.
By any chance, do you know the difference between a risk mitigation and a risk contingency?
Pardon? Your voice is breaking.
Risk contingency and risk mitigation.
Yeah. Risk mitigation is like, for example, I'll tell you one example where in one iteration we got to work on the same design and construction in one iteration, where we need to, for completing the design, we need to get approval from the clients, and complete for doing the construction, we need to get the sign off from my architect. Yeah, during this, right, there is a chance there is a chance of getting a delay of getting the approvals from the different ideally we are getting only one type of thing, like either we'll get a design or analysis design or construction. We used to work in particular one iteration, but we got a user story where we need to do all the two things in all these two in a single iteration itself, where we'll get a we identified as risk, like there may be a chance of getting delay of the story, completing the story. Why we need to get approvals from the two different persons. One will be like with our client manager, client, and another with our architect. For example, we will do our work once although are like consecutively we need to do. Once the design is completed, then only we'll start with the construction. There might be a risk. We'll mitigate this risk during the start of iteration. This is called risk mitigation. Contingency is like, we during the even though we identified the risk, we started with our work, right? We'll give an action plan for this. What is the thing, and based on the action plan, we'll start our work and we'll do that.
Okay. So my last question for today is, can you just share some of your outcomes from your past retrospective meetings, and how do you work with these outcomes?
Yeah, outcomes of the retrospective. Yeah, whenever we are taking the retrospective, right, we'll identify. We'll focus on what are all the things that went well, and what are all the things where we are lagging, and what we can improve when we are lacking of something, right? Yeah, we'll once after the discussion done in the retrospective, we'll identify the action plan, and we'll identify the action plan and what are all the things we need to achieve for that. For example, I'll tell you one example where we got some comments from our from my team, like when we have different types of reviews will be there during the code. Different types of reviews, like code reviews and design reviews will be there during that time, right? What they said, like we will have the every review will be like two phases will be there. We are operating in an onshore and offshore model. During that reviews, offshore will be there, offshore reviews will be there, and onshore reviews will be there. Once offshore review is done, we need to showcase, we need to give it to the onshore review. This review process, few of the associates feel like this review process need to be improvised, and we need to have some changes for that particular review process. We take it as an action plan, and we need to improvise our review plans. First, what we have done is, like, we identified we identified for that particular, we identified a few people from our pool. For example, in my team, who are all for example, in my Scrum team, few people are very good in UI, few people are very good in database DB side, and few people will be good in front end. We identified this type of people, and we created some pools for that, like how we did some peer reviews when they are doing the when they are scheduling the reviews to the onshore and offshore model. We identified this, the action plan we took, and this is the plan we did, and we implemented this. And we, soon as we implemented this in a couple of iterations, we saw the good results, and we got very less what we call less comments from the onshore, and they are also surprised the work, surprised by seeing our work, and we got some good comments as well from the client side. This is the one example I can.
Okay, great, Sriram. Okay, I think we are good for today, Sriram. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Sunil.